Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. You know, when we're in school, we're taught two main things. Learn things. You have to learn things: reading, writing, arithmetic, what are all the things that, just the knowledge. You need to have the knowledge. And the other thing we're taught is study hard. You really need to work hard. There's a lot of people out there. You're competing with them. Those two things: learn things and study hard. But what I have found in time is that success is really a three-legged stool. And they never talk about this third leg. And the third leg is networking. And it's, you hear the statement, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's really, that's part of it, but it's also what you're doing with those relationships. But we're never taught this, and we all kind of stumble on it at some point in time. And part of it is the people who teach us don't really live that life. They're stuck in a university or a high school, and they got a job, right? I mean, they get a paycheck every 2 weeks, and they don't have to worry about all these things out in the real world. Until they need a job. But we all have to navigate and figure out, okay, there's a third leg here that nobody's ever talked about. And so, for me, it was showing up at that first meeting of what is now AmSpirit Business Connections and realizing, oh my gosh. And I'm always intrigued when I run into people who have similar stories, those similar epiphanies where it's like, oh my gosh. And so today is I've Jenny Bellinger on, and she's a certified professional coach. She has a story that I want to get at. She's the host of the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast, and she works with badass direct sales moms with, as she says, ADHD to help them focus on business growth activities so they can be at home with their kids. She's been an entrepreneur since 2010, and she understands the balancing act. She had to navigate, providing for a household, building a business, raising two kids, navigating divorce, which to me is code for she's probably a single mom in there as well. And there's a lot to that. And just figuring out, how to make it work. And there was that moment where it was like, okay, I've learned things. I work hard. Why is this stool not working? So Jenny, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me, Frank. And I'm super excited to get to share the networking part of my journey, because I attribute it to my success. Just like you said, it was the third leg of the stool that really, really helped bolster where I am today.
Yeah. Well, how'd you find it? No, I'm sure there was a degree of frustration.
Yeah, for sure. I basically was in my own direct sales business. I had started, like my intro says there, I started a business in 2010, and I was in a direct sales business, a direct sales jewelry business. And I realized fairly quickly I was running out of people. I had a pretty small network. And I was like, okay, I have pretty much asked all of my friends, all of my family, my neighbors, everybody I can think of to either host a party, buy some jewelry, whatever. And I was running out of people, and literally kind of said, okay, I need to find a way to meet more people. How can I meet more people?
I'm sure that was just incredibly scary for, you're, and I don't know your ex, but it's, the good news in this world is women generally get the kids. The bad news in this world is women get the kids, right?
Yeah. Well, at the time I was still married,
Okay.
and so that part was not difficult. I did have a lot of support from my husband. He believed in the business that I was doing. He wasn't, being a negative Nancy about it. He was perfectly happy to do what he could to help support make this business growth that I had committed to. But for me, what was scary was the fact that, realizing I've been a stay at home mom for 2 years at that point. So I didn't really know many other people outside of other moms who had kids of about the same age. And I, before that, had been a school teacher. So my network had not grown since I became a stay-at-home mom. I had maybe met a few other moms at the playground or at, little, toddler things because my child at that point in time was like 2. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I just didn't have a big network, and I didn't know how to meet more people. I really had no idea how to go about doing that. And I know that that is a huge frustration in the industry in which I work, which is direct sales network marketing and multi-level marketing, is people keep hearing that they need to grow their network and they don't know how, and they don't know how.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that right around that time that I was realizing, oh shoot, I've run out of people. We had gone and taken family portraits with a photographer, and I noticed that all of the model pictures that he had in his studio, none of the models were wearing jewelry. And so I asked him, I said, hey, the next time you do a model shoot, would you please invite me out and I'll style her with jewelry? No cost to her, no cost to you. All I ask is that you put my business cards below her picture here in the studio. So that way, when people see the jewelry, say, here's her card. If you want to learn more about it, connect with her. And his response was, you need to come to BNI.
Yeah.
I
Well,
went, what?
be a what?
Yeah, I was like, BMI? What's that? I thought that was like a weight thing. He goes, no,
Right.
BNI. And so it was then that he basically explained, okay, that thing you just offered to me, what if you were in a room of a bunch of people who were willing to do that with you and for you, and then you do the same for them? And I went, oh, that's kind of hot. I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, what is this? How do I do this BNI thing? What is it? And he goes, come for lunch. I'll pay for your lunch. Check it out. If you like it, do something about it. If you don't, you'll meet some cool people. Okay. Easiest invite, most expensive free lunch I ever went to.
Right.
But also the most successful lunch I ever went to. And it was so worth it.
Well, I guess the question I have is, did he allow you to do the jewelry thing, and did anything ever come from that?
Yeah, he actually did. Anytime in the future then where he had maybe an engaged couple that
Mm,
was going to be, taking their engagement photos and
sure.
their wedding photos or whatever, I would come in and I would do all the non-ring jewelry because of course in an engagement photo, the ring is
Yeah.
the star of the show along with the bride.
Well, you hope it
Um,
is.
right, exactly. One would hope.
Yeah.
And so he would have me come in and style those brides. And sometimes even the men were willing to wear some of our men's line of jewelry. I gave them the option; they didn't have to, but
Right.
it got me in front of these brides who then would want to have a jewelry party so that they could buy gifts for their bridal party and things like that. So we did a lot of collaborations outside of that because then of course I became a member of the chapter that he was a part of. And so we collaborated quite a bit. So the photographer and I did a lot of business together because then of course I was also promoting his business.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people began to see me as the go-to person that I knew. I seemingly knew everybody. Because I was working my network. I was getting to know more and more people in business and just saying, how can I help you? How can I promote you? I've got, and I was starting to grow my friends list on Facebook. And so I would just say, back in the day before Facebook had an algorithm, because do you remember back in the day when Facebook started and you could actually, post something and everybody on your friends list saw it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once upon a time, that was a thing. And so I was able to, fairly early on grow my network pretty quickly online. And I was able to, use my social media following back then to say, hey, if you would like me to promote you, let's have a conversation and see how we can promote each other. Because this is not a one-way street. I'm happy to promote you if we can find a way where you can promote me somehow. And that over time grew my business and grew other people's businesses as well.
I guess going back to that point, was there a sense, you go to the BNI meeting, was there a sense like, okay, I figured it out, right? There's a third leg here. I figured it out.
Yeah, there really was. I didn't know that I had fully figured it out, but I had a feeling that this was the path to success.
Yeah.
That this was, obviously I didn't get networking. I did not get it all right from the get-go. I made my rookie mistakes just like every other rookie in networking makes their mistakes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still do. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We are human. We have a guarantee. I do have a guarantee for perfection, and that is a guaranteed lack of perfection.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. Yeah.
So, being in that meeting, that first time, that first lunch, I remember thinking, I'm pretty sure this is the answer to that question that I gave to the universe a few weeks ago, going, how do I grow my network? How am I going to do this? How am I going to build this business? Because I was 90 days into my business and I literally had 0 parties on my books for the next few weeks. And
well, and you're at a point there where family and friends are like, okay, we can't have her over either.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to become the person that people avoided at the grocery store or the post office or
Yeah.
the aisles at Target, and so sitting in that lunch, I remember going, okay, I'm pretty sure this is it. They were kind enough to let me come back one more time before I had to make a final decision. And that second time, I went ahead and put in my application because I said, I don't know what this is, but I feel like this is the universe talking to me and telling me this is the right place to go, right place to be,
Yeah.
that these are the people that I need to figure this thing out to grow my network. Because when they, at the time, there was a Mary Kay lady in the chapter that I joined. And I asked her, I said, your business is the one that is most like mine. How is this networking thing going to work? And she said, honestly, I can't imagine my business without it.
Yeah.
And that's what sold me. I was like, boom, all right, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I ended up putting the wrote a check for the application fee, put the first year of membership on my credit card, and just prayed. Because I was like, if this didn't work, I was going to have to go out of business because I just didn't know how else to meet other people. And so it worked because here I am 12 years later, more successful and in a totally different industry than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
I seriously thought I was going to be in direct sales for the rest of my life, but found a calling a few years ago that shifted things. But networking is what really, really saved my business. And I tell people that story all the time.
Well, I think we get myopic. I think that's the word.
Uh-huh.
Because my story is very similar, right? I'm getting invited to this meeting. I really don't know what, and AmSpirit was certainly much smaller then, and still smaller than BNI now, but kind of the same thing. It's like, I can't not do this. I have to do this. I have to try. And it's not a given. It's not just showing up and paying your money. You have to do the things. It's what you do when you get there. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, networking is not a vending machine. It's not like you show up, put your money in, and clients, business referrals just drop out the bottom. That's not how this works. And it does take putting some extra ingredients in before you can get stuff out of the bottom. It's more like cooking than it is a vending machine.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. But going into that, like you going into that, I'm like, okay, you know what? I know people from work. Um, I'm really not from where I live, so I didn't have a lot of high school friends or anything like that that I could tap into to try and grow a law practice. I, I was I was afraid. I was afraid of failing. I could have gone and found a job. That's, so it wasn't the end of the world, but that's not what I wanted to do. And just kind of figuring, okay, I just I just met a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know where this is going to lead, but I just met a bunch of people, and it kind of works out in time.
Oh yeah, it's fabulous the way networking works when it's done right with all the right people, and how it really opens up um everybody's world. When people begin to build those relationships, because it's not about the 16, 25, 40, 100 people sitting in the room. Yes, it's great if some of them do business with you personally because they recognize that they need your products or services, whatever that may
Yeah,
be. But what's more powerful is recognizing that every person in that room, the 16 people, the 25 people, the 40 people, the 100 people, however big the networking event is that somebody's going to, or networking group that somebody's going to, it's the average 750 people behind every one of those
yeah,
people. That's what's most powerful, is when you can teach them who you are, who you work with, who you serve, how you serve them, what problems do they have, and how you make those things better. What are the outcomes you provide for the clients who work with you? When you can teach them all of those things, and they can dig through their 750 person
yeah,
network and find 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 40 people who fit that ideal client avatar, who seem to be having the problem that you solve, who want a solution to said problem, or at least an introduction to someone who might solve that problem. It changes everything, because now you don't have to go prospecting. You've got the benefit of word of mouth marketing sitting right there if you can learn how to teach people to refer you.
yeah. No, it's well, for me as the attorney, I didn't want to do business with people in the chapter because I didn't want to. I would sit down and I would hear these. Well, I'm thinking about getting a divorce, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't
Yeah.
want to know these things and have to see you every week.
Yeah.
And I was a business person, but I was getting, I'm like a therapist, but you're right, because
Yeah.
people come to these sorts of groups and they're like, well, I can't, none of these people could be my client. Oh, you're missing the point. You are
Right.
you are missing the point. You have to look through these people and the people that they know. Yeah, I know the accountant's a small accountant, but he has some really big clients and runs,
Yeah.
you know, does a lot of things, and don't judge the book by the cover here. Just hope there's a lot of really good pages in here.
Oh
Um,
yeah, seriously. And I can say that, having been networking professionally now for 12 years, um those short-sighted people who show up and go, I can't do business here.
yeah,
Okay. You know, I, are you open to learning how you could? Because if you're open to it, I'll have the conversation. But if you've already made up your mind that this isn't going to work for you, I'm at the point now where I'm not going to try and waste my breath,
yeah,
or their time or my time trying to explain to them how this could work. I'm like, okay, cool. You don't get it, and you're not willing to open your mind up, because that's the question I ask. Are you open to learning how it could work, given that your clients are seemingly not in the room?
yeah,
Because I can tell you, in 12 years I've been in a lot of networking meetings, both in BNI and other networking groups. I mean, because I don't just network in BNI, I network all kinds of places, because
right,
my ideal potential clients are everywhere, and the people who could refer me are in all kinds of places as well. I can say pretty handily, most people who are in those rooms don't hire me.
yeah. No,
Most
it's
people don't, but when they hear what I do, they go, "Oh, yeah, my sister, my neighbor, my friend, my cousin, my sister-in-law, my whomever, like insert insert relationship
yeah,
here." They all know someone who is like, "Oh, they're in that industry. I bet they could use what you do." That's what I'm looking for, are those introductions, because I can talk about how awesome I am till I'm blue in the face and people go, "Uh-huh, yeah." When
Right.
someone else says it, all of a sudden it carries some weight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes the sale easy. I mean, you still have to kind of, this is what it's going to cost, so on and so forth. But
Yeah,
let's shift gears here, because you were in direct sales,
sure.
and you've already alluded to it that it's gone in a whole different direction. And I want to talk about that whole different direction, or give you the opportunity to talk about the things that you're doing now, and and how people can help you, and certainly how people can get a hold of you. But I guess the first question I have was, when did the shift happen? You know what? Hey,
Mm.
I'm getting good at this direct sales thing. Could be a legend in whatever company, but there's a bigger calling for me.
Yeah, that really happened sometime in 2016. So I had been in business for about 6-ish years, and I got introduced to a business coach, and I remember having a one-to-one with him. Well, I call him I'm sorry. I got introduced to a coach. We'll say it that way.
Okay.
I got introduced to a coach, had a one-to-one with him, and I said, "So, you're a business coach?" And he goes, "Nope." "Oh, you're a life coach?" And again, he says, "Nope." Okay, what's left? Because at this point in time, he was like the second or third coach I had ever met.
Yeah.
And I, previous to these other coaches that I had met, I thought coaches were for sports. I had no idea there were
Yeah.
coaches outside of sporting events or sports teams or anything like that. And so his response was he's a whole person coach. And that was the first like ping in my brain that went, oh, that's really interesting, because, a business coach, a lot of the business coaches that I had been talking to up to that point, or, the two previous ones that I had known at that point, were not serving direct sales or network marketers or MLM people. And mostly because they didn't know the business model. They didn't want to work with those people. It was an underserved population. Um, but I also realized part of the reason that the coach I had been working with for my business was not as successful is because that was also around the time when my marriage was starting to fall apart. And I was not sharing those things with her because she was
Mm,
in my head, she was my business coach.
right.
Right? You don't share the personal, like you don't mix business and personal. So I was not sharing those things. And so that was affecting my business. So that's when I was realizing, oh, I could probably use a whole person coach, because then we can talk business, then we can talk personal, then we can talk whole person stuff, mom stuff. We can like all kinds of things here. And that really began to open my mind to this option. And so I had some conversations with him. And then about 3 months later, I called him up and I said, okay, I cannot stop thinking about becoming a whole person coach. This, I I'm super ADD, so attention. I, I talk about how I don't have ADHD, I have ADOS, attention deficit shiny. Um, so if something sticks in my mind for 90 days, that's kind of my sign from the universe, sign from God, sign from source, whatever you want to call it. I call it universe. That this is probably where I'm meant to go next. And so I asked him how I could become a whole person coach. And so he talked me through some options that I had. And I went in early 2017 and got certified as a certified professional coach, in as a whole person coach, so I can deal in the areas of business and life and
Mhm.
relationship and health and all those different areas. Um, because I knew that I really wanted to work with my direct sales, network marketers, and MLM professionals in order to help them, because I know that many of these people, and this was pre-COVID, this was a description for network marketers, direct sales, and MLM professionals. Now, post-COVID, this fits a lot of people. But
Right.
what I knew is these people were doing business from the kitchen table. They were doing business from the couch. They were doing business from their house, which meant all parts of their life, their personal and their business, were bleeding together, because I couldn't just be a business coach. I couldn't just be a life coach. I needed to be able to work with them in all areas so that their their business and their life in general was moving forward, without anything holding them back because, oh, I don't do that. Does that make sense?
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I got into the coaching realm. Was I got certified, and originally my thought was, oh, I'll just do this coaching thing in my own, with my own team, with my own company. And I realized very quickly, as people found out that I was now certified as a coach, more people outside of the company that I was with
Right.
wanted help. And I did not want there to be a conflict of interest at any point in time. So I stepped away from my direct sales business, from my direct sales team, made sure they all went to leaders that would fit and support them, and started coaching full time in 2017. And so I've been doing that now for 6 years, which is crazy for me to think about that it's been 6 years because it feels like yesterday.
Right. Well, there's riches and niches. I know a guy who's a financial advisor, and he works with farmers. It's
There you
grew up,
go.
his brother and his dad are farmers, and he just gets that world, and you get the
Yeah.
world you're in. And you're right, a lot of people kind of turn their nose up at it, which
Yeah.
um, you know, I just look at it as business. The woman in Mary Kay, she's driving a pink Cadillac. She's making more money than you ever will. So shut up.
Seriously.
You
And
know?
that's what really is part of my company mission, is to help change the overall perception of direct sales, network marketing, and multi-level marketing, so that people stop
Right.
rolling their eyes when their friends and family and neighbors announce on social media that they have started a business with insert company here. um, that people can see it's a business as a business, and if they've had bad experiences with other ones before,
Mhm.
recognize that that may have been the person, it may have been that company, but not all of them are bad.
Yeah.
Not all of the people in the industry are bad. In fact, most of them are just trying to make that extra stream of income to pay for the ballet lessons, the select soccer team, maybe go on a trip a
Yep.
year that is not coming out of their family budget, but they've made the $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 that year that pays for their family vacation,
Right.
with this business. And some people turn it into a full-time thing, and their full-time gig. And that's, there are lots of people making a lot of money in
Yeah.
direct sales and network
Yeah.
marketing and MLM businesses, because they've made it their full-time gig. They're leading an organization that is probably larger than most corporate people will ever lead themselves,
Yeah.
depending on how high they get or how big their company is. Um, you know, there's a gentleman I know in the world of direct sales and network marketing, and he's brought on 600,000 people in his 13 years in the company that he's been with. 600,000 people. His organization is probably actually active with about half of that.
Right.
But how many people are running 300,000 person organizations?
That's massive. It's massive. Yeah. It's
So,
well, it gets back to what I said before. 3 legs, right? Learn things, work hard, network. Those 3 things, and that's what that person's done.
oh, absolutely.
So best way to get a hold of you. How, if people listening, how do they get a hold of you? badassdirectsalesmastery.com is.
Yep, badassdirectsalesmastery.com is the website. I also have a podcast by the same name, so people can listen in there and see, if they're, especially if there's somebody who are in direct sales, network marketing, or multi-level marketing, they may find some value in there, one would hope, including an interview with you.
Yeah, there you go. So
to talk about networking. But yeah, the website is a great way to get a hold of me, because then people can either get on my calendar from there or connect with me through the ever wonderful contact form that everybody has on their website.
it's okay. It's okay. Well, I appreciate your time today.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm so glad that I can come contribute to this, because I really truly believe that 50% of the job of a network marketer is to grow their network. So if they're not growing their network, they're not doing half of their job as a network marketer. So
thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today, and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.